Samsung has been making foldables for 8 years. So when they build a phone specifically to fight Apple's first foldable, this should have been an easy win. But somehow, the cracks around the Z Fold 8 Wide have already started to show. Let's get into it. The Z Fold 8 Wide is basically Samsung's direct answer to the iPhone Ultra. Same wider aspect ratio, same overall idea. And with the S25 Edge, Samsung already showed us the strategy: beat Apple on hardware. But this time, the leaks are telling a very different story. The Z Fold 8 Wide is reportedly dropping from the Fold 7's 200 megapixel camera to just 50 megapixels. Now on paper, 50 megapixels doesn't sound bad. Apple's foldable is also using 48 megapixels. But the problem is the camera tier itself. The Z Fold 8 Wide is reportedly using the same camera tier Samsung has basically been recycling since the 4-year-old S22. And that becomes a much bigger problem once you compare it to Apple. Apple's foldable also skips the telephoto, but it's reportedly using the same pro-level 48 megapixel hardware from current iPhones, which somehow makes Apple's first foldable sound more current than Samsung's. And because Samsung's dropping the Ultra camera, they're not just losing the telephoto, they're losing the crop zoom advantage that made the 200 megapixel system useful in the first place. Apple's foldable skips the telephoto too, but because it's using newer pro-level sensors, the whole setup still feels more modern overall. So Samsung's brand new, most hyped foldable form factor is handing the Apple win here. And honestly, that's not what anyone expected Samsung to do here. Samsung is shrinking the punch hole cameras this year, which matters a lot more on foldables since they're constantly sitting in the middle of your content. But here's the thing, even though the cutout is shrinking, it's basically the same 10 megapixel sensor again. Now to be fair, people probably care less about selfie cameras on foldables than they do on regular phones anyway. But Apple seems to be taking the opposite approach here. The iPhone Ultra is rumored to use the newer 18 megapixel center stage camera system Apple introduced last year, meaning they're still prioritizing the actual selfie experience itself. So visually, Samsung looks cleaner, but practically, Apple's selfie setup still sounds better. Now, it's not all bad, and I'm not going to pretend it is, because the ultra-wide camera is actually getting a massive upgrade. Samsung is reportedly jumping from a 12 megapixel to a new 50 megapixel setup that could even match the hardware planned for the S27 Ultra. And that's a genuine flagship level upgrade, which honestly just makes the main camera decision look even stranger. And honestly, this is where the whole strategy starts making sense. With the S25 Edge, Samsung went the expensive route to fight Apple on specs. The Fold 8 Wide looks like the exact opposite strategy. And remember, the iPhone Ultra is rumored to start at over $2,000. Samsung knows that. So, if they can land the Wide meaningfully cheaper, suddenly the 50 megapixel camera stops looking like a mistake and starts looking like a pricing decision. But honestly, pricing is probably only half the story here. Samsung now has 2 foldables, and they can't both have ultra-tier hardware. Otherwise, one of them becomes pointless. So the regular Fold 8 becomes the camera-focused foldable, while the Wide becomes the versatility model. And once you look at it that way, the dual camera setup stops feeling random. Now, whether that's actually the right strategy depends on one thing Samsung still hasn't told us yet: the price. And here's the thing, Apple's not playing this perfectly either. The iPhone Ultra has made some genuinely strange decisions of its own. Click here to watch it in full. This is TechTix, and I'll see you there.